The 49ers were upset by the Chicago Bears in their season opener 19-10. And I'm going to talk about how Chicago put off that upset and what went wrong for the 49ers later on this episode of the podcast. But for this segment, I really just want to talk about Trey Lance's performance in this game, because there are many people out there who are making it seem like Trey Lance just played completely awful in this game. And I have to defend him, because Trey Lance played pretty solid in this game. No, he didn't play great, but people are trying to make it out to be like Trey Lance is already a bust. Why are people trying to push this bust label on Trey Lance so hard? He hasn't even been a starter for a full season yet. Can we at least see a full year of him starting yet before we try to label him something? Because what I saw against the Chicago Bears wasn't a bad performance. You also got to take into account that, look at the conditions that the Bears and the 49ers played in. Bro, they were doing slip and slide celebrations at the end of the game. The field was awful. How was anybody expecting Trey Lance to put on a passing clinic? And if you watch the game, you would know that the Chicago Bears didn't have success throwing the football through the air neither. You see, people who are trying to label Trey Lance's week one performance a disaster are casuals. And I know people think when you use the word casual, it comes off as condescending. And I don't mean it in a condescending way, but if you don't want to be labeled a casual, all you got to do is watch the highlights of the game and stop trying to judge how good somebody's performance is from the box score. Because many people, all they do is they go through the ESPN or the Bleacher Report app, they go through the scores, they click on the results, and they go through the box scores and the team stats, and they try to decide how good somebody performed based off stats. Watch the actual game or just watch the highlights. I mean, it was really hard for anybody to have success in the passing game. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Trey Lance didn't have a bad game, but he didn't have a perfect game. He definitely missed a couple of big throws. In the first quarter, he missed tight end Tyler Kroft. That would have been a really big play right there. Then in the second quarter, he did have a pretty good throw to Ray McCloud on a crossing route. And then in the first half, he started out 6 of 9 for 70 yards passing. That was a pretty good start considering the conditions. And for Trey Lance, I think where things started to go left for him is in the fourth quarter, because there was a third down situation when Trey Lance ends up dropping back the pass and he throws the interception to Eddie Jackson. And it was a really good play on Eddie Jackson's part, but at the same time, it was a really bad mistake on Trey Lance's part and a really crucial moment of the game. And that interception by Eddie Jackson eventually helped Chicago take a lead, which eventually helped them to win the game in the end. So, also, there were some plays and third down situations where Trey Lance was able to keep the drive alive using his legs. He also had some pretty good third down throws. So Trey Lance didn't have a completely bad performance. I probably would give it a C+, because it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. But I definitely think overall, he played pretty well up into the fourth quarter when you really needed him to make some of those big throws. And, of course, you got to take the conditions into consideration. On top of that, the 49ers did commit a good amount of penalties because, I mean, anytime you have 12 penalties and your opponent only has 3 penalties, yeah, you're going to have a good chance of losing the game. And then on top of that, let's not forget that Trey Lance had some pretty good drives early in this game. You know, there was 2 times when the 49ers got into the red zone and Deebo Samuel fumbled on one, and then he fumbled on the second. Well, he fumbled on the first time they was in the red zone, and he scored a touchdown on their second trip when they got into the red zone. So when you look at the whole entire performance from the 49ers, it wasn't really all that great. But at the same time, when you look at Trey Lance's performance overall, I don't think he played as bad as what a lot of people are trying to make it out to say or try to make it seem like. Because I don't think that Trey Lance played god awful. I think he played pretty well considering the conditions. And this reminds me of a time when Stephen A. Smith was on First Take and he was criticizing Baker Mayfield for the performance that he had against the Cleveland Browns. But yeah, you can tell he didn't watch the game because the conditions were 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Then it was like rain pouring down. But yet he expected Baker Mayfield to look like Tom Brady, just dissecting the defense in some of the worst weather possible to play football in. But, you know, I just feel like too many people are just so quick to pass judgment based off what they see week one. Trust Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is a really good play caller. Trust me, he's going to put Trey Lance in situations to succeed. And on top of that, they took a huge gamble. Jimmy Garoppolo's still there. Literally, you had no reason to bench Jimmy Garoppolo necessarily. Because, I mean, you can't say he played bad because he got you to the NFC Championship game. So, you start Trey Lance and you pretty much say, hey, even though Jimmy Garoppolo's still here, we promise that it's your job now. So, for Kyle Shanahan and, you know, their general manager, John Lynch, they need Trey Lance to succeed because if Trey Lance fails, it makes them look really bad. And then it makes for a really awkward situation. Because what if you got to put Jimmy Garoppolo back in there? So you just have to be patient. It's week one. Everybody's thinking that Trey Lance is going to be the 49ers version of what Patrick Mahomes was for the Kansas City Chiefs. And, you know, things kind of have started off a little bit rocky. Things aren't going as smooth as what they went with Patrick Mahomes. Because when Patrick Mahomes first became the starting quarterback for Kansas City, the transition from Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes was seamless. And Patrick Mahomes just completely dominated from start to finish. So when you look at Trey Lance, things do look a little rocky. But I think within the next couple of weeks, or over at least the first 4 games, Trey Lance is going to get better and he's going to start to heat up. Because I definitely do trust the play calling of Kyle Shanahan. And I definitely did see a lot of good in his week 1 regular season debut against the Chicago Bears. I definitely think there was way more good than there was bad than what a lot of people may think. But let me know how you guys feel about Trey Lance week 1 performance against the Chicago Bears. Because I don't think 49ers fans or anybody on San Francisco's coaching staff should be concerned about how he performed through week 1. I think he played pretty well. And it's only week 1. No time to panic. There's still way a lot of... It's just a lot of football to be played. So, give it some time. And let's just be patient before we start trying to label him a bust.